Today, we're going to be talking about our predictions for China's expansion in the 2020s. We're also going to be talking about the first ever indie record. I'm Joe.
I'm Josh.
You got questions?
Yo, feeling grounded.
Welcome to Feeling Grounded with your hosts, Josh and Joe.
Oh man, how you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. I had a light week this week, which was great. Had a lot of time at home with the babes. Did a lot of babysitting of the twins and the kiddo. And
the babies.
The tot. And it was good. It was nice.
Tots.
Yeah, normally the thing about that is like it's great, but it's hard at the same time because I can't just like do whatever I want. So it's not like those days are ever productive. So if I'm like home and have to babysit, then I'm just literally just babysitting all day until people come home to rescue me. But it's still good.
Yeah,
but
what do you do with your time with them? Give me a play-by-play.
I sit there and I tend to their needs. We will play. I'll put them on the ground so they can sit up a little bit. They can work on rolling. They can work on their core muscles while they're playing with toys. And then meanwhile, Eli is playing with trains or running around or coloring or something.
Yeah, they're rolling around so much because to them, their head weighs about like 600 pounds.
Exactly. It's like their head is like 10 times the size of the rest of their body. It's like way too big. Yeah. Have you seen that interview with Kevin Hart before, where he like pretends everyone jokes he's a baby?
No.
And there's like a sound guy or like a producer or something that comes out and is like holding his head for him, and then every time you let go, he's just like, "I got."
It's like you're a marionette.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. So I feed them, and then we have nap time, and usually during nap time, which is like if I can get all three of them down, which happens like once a day, then I take that time and I try to do something. Either go outside or I do stuff on my computer or whatever it is. But outside of that, it's just being with them and playing with them and reading the books and feeding them. And
what'd you read today or yesterday, I should say?
What books did I read yesterday? All kinds.
A little bit of Go Dog Go, little Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, always you gotta do those Dr. Seuss books. I don't care what the world says or the culture says about Dr. Seuss. He's classic. It's great.
I bought a couple of Dr. Seuss books for family because they were like miniature versions from Target that they sold a couple weeks ago. But it's interesting that you said that this was kind of a light week. I would agree. Because it's amazing how we feel like that a week could go by fast. I don't even think it was that pressure filled. And I would have thought if a pressure filled week would make it go faster, this week I thought would go incredibly slow. But no, I was still rested and rejuvenated for the most part. Yeah.
Good.
It's time for Happy Crappy.
Happy Crappy. It's love like zooming, getting into the camera.
I can see your nose hairs. Start trimming.
Yeah, you too, actually.
That kind of hurt a little bit.
Yeah. What's the one? Not Bruce Almighty. What's the other one with Steve Carell?
Evan Almighty.
When he has the scene where he like takes the razor and he like does his nose.
Oh yeah, what's that tool? I'm always afraid to use that tool if it did.
Well, he just uses a straight up like a razor, like a face like shaver, like a disposable.
Oh, he
goes in his nose.
manually.
Remember? Yeah, it's just like
it kind of makes me cringe a little bit. I'm not even like touching my nose.
Right. Anyways.
Yeah, let's start with a crappy first.
Okay.
Give me one. Warm me up a little bit.
Sure. So what I've been doing this week is to dissuade myself from eating out. I went and got groceries, and I have a kitchen just down the hall in this building, and it has a fridge in it, microwave, all that stuff. And so I got a bunch of groceries. I got some yogurt, the banana, and blah blah, bananas. And I'll make lunch after work because I'm usually done by like 1 o'clock, and then I'll come in here and then just to kind of unwind a little bit before going home. And so I've been disposing of the garbage and stuff in my trash can in this office. And that's not a good idea. The second I came in here,
it's getting hotter.
Oh boy, was it stanky. As soon as I opened this door, I was hit with a wave of old yogurt and banana peels. Oh, disgusting.
I know that.
I was Ralphed in the moment. So I emptied the trash can in a different and down the hall in a meeting room down the hall.
Is that your happy?
No, that's my crap. That was my crap.
Oh, okay.
Is the office stuck? I thought that'd be a good one.
What sound was that I just heard?
Oh, they have sports outside. All the sports fields are like right outside my window.
See, I thought that was like some nuclear blast, like alarm.
Yeah, right.
Our last podcast. I don't care what's happening in the world. Like, it's just our last episode. No, people, it's not our last episode. It's not.
No, by all official records, usually the 8th episode is everyone's last episode. So we have to get past that because people usually quit after.
But not ours. We don't give up.
Yeah, we're not giving up. We're gonna keep going. Yeah, so that was my crappy. My office smelled horrible.
I'm actually gonna go a happy first to kind of counteract this, just because it lines up with my story with my crappy.
Yeah.
But what happened to me yesterday? I in the middle of it was like 6:30 in the morning when I was driving to work. I had seen a couple homeless guys around that area. They were in their like respective areas, kind of far away from each other. And then I saw them. I was like, I know those two because I hadn't seen them for about a month. And then what if, because I was some really inspirational music was playing, and I was like, what if they came over? And lo and behold, one of them did. And so what did I do? I had some food just prepared because I have a lunch that's all prepared. That I prepared for myself the day before.
Right.
Think Andrew from the Breakfast Club. It's just never ending.
Yeah.
All my Breakfast Club people out there. And what did I give him? I gave him fruit. I gave him banana, an apple, and he asked me, like, that'll go into the crappy later. But yeah, I felt good to give him that food.
You help him out. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Very good. Good. All right. Do you want to just go right into your crappy?
I probably should. The crappy involving that scenario was he asked me for money for coffee. I said, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash carried on me. And then he handed me back just the apple. I handed him a banana and an apple. He handed me back the apple, and I said, oh, you don't want the apple? And he says, no, I don't have any teeth. And I had not even noticed. I couldn't have, like, it was kind of covered, his lips. And yeah, I felt bad that I just didn't have any cash. I felt like it was because, you have something in the back of your mind that even if I did have the cash, I'd be kind of hesitant to, because you never know what they could use that for. But right. I didn't really think of them. I just thought about, like, I didn't have any. And then the guy behind me at the traffic light had the audacity, because I noticed the traffic light had just turned green. After
he honked you.
Yeah, he honked me literally 1 second later. And I just thought, the nerve on this fella,
I know, he sees you helping this guy, and then
you never know what that guy behind me could have been going through. Maybe his wife was pregnant or something. I don't know. You never know. I try to think of myself in that moment, but yeah, that bothered me throughout the whole part of that day yesterday.
Yeah, I bet it did. Yeah, stuff like that is never fun.
Yeah, I couldn't picture it, going, could have gone of any other way. Yeah, it was tough, but I tried to, but I did a good thing regardless.
Yeah, exactly. So I commend you, Joe. It was good.
Commend you.
My happy. So I did crappy first. Did you want happy first?
I want anything.
And then I went crappy first. I was like, no, I'm doing my own thing. All right, so happy. We're almost ready for our new home. We're like really close, actually, which is pretty cool.
How long?
Mortgage, well, technically our contract says we can close May. We can close on May 15th.
Okay.
It's like the earliest date. And I think we can do that. I don't know if we would be allowed to go any sooner, but our end is basically done. I was talking to our mortgage lender yesterday, and we're very close to being completed, because the mortgage process takes a long time. It's a pain in the butt, and we're just waiting on one last piece of paper to come in that says that we're good to go. So
just a waiting game at this point.
Yeah,
but it's all worked out.
Oh yeah, it's been great. Like, I remember our first mortgage that we got with the first home that we bought was a nightmare. This mortgage lender was terrible. He was not very clear with us, and every week he would send us like a new thing that we had to do, and it just felt like it's such a long time. It was so painful. Every week he'd be like, "Yeah, can I get every history and copy of all of your bank accounts?" It was just like, what? And then the week after it would be like, "Can I have every pay stub from all of your jobs that you've ever worked?" And we're just like, what? And like all this stuff. But this guy has been awesome. He's just, the very first email I got from him was like, "Hey, like, this is what I need. I need all this stuff, and just check away at it, and then give it to me when you can, and then we're good to go." And we did, and it's been very good.
Seems like a straight shooter compared to
the other guy.
Yeah,
much better. So that's my happy.
Don't you love that? No BS.
Yeah. And the reason why, because the other guy, the bad guy, was commission based, so he wanted to get money off of us. And because initially we went with him because he promised us the best interest rate, but then when we actually went through the process, he like bumped it up by like a ton, even more than like typically, you know, what the market looks like. He bumped it up higher just so he could get his money, you know, and it was just like really messed up. So we're looking pretty good with this one.
When you're inauthentic like that, you're doing it for selfish gain. You could see it a mile away.
Yeah, and I had a lot of like tough conversations with him, saying like, "Listen, like, we're gonna leave." And
I would love to see you as a third party, like a fly on the wall with those conversations.
Yeah, right. Little crabby Josh saying you're trying to steal money out of my pockets. Anyways, we can envision what that looks like.
I can only imagine.
Well, there you go.
It's time for the news.
This is kind of not a new thing, but it's still developing. And I think that it's as good a time as ever to talk about this. So there is an increase in Chinese military activity near Taiwan. What I have noticed is that U.S. officials, also former Taiwanese military leaders and security experts, they say that Taiwan needs to be more proactive more, so that they may be able to inflict enough damage or be on the defensive enough to avoid some type of invading force with China. So, until help arrives. So my prediction, in my opinion, is that within the next 1 to 6 years, China will be invading Taiwan.
Wow.
I don't know. I kind of want to get your thoughts on what you know of China at this point in time, just so we can make a nice intro for it.
Well, I guess all that I've heard is that they've really been upping their game with military stuff, and they're trying to push that. I don't know. I think their budget has been increasing for military spending, and they've been growing quite a bit. Now, I don't think they've surpassed us yet.
No.
But you always hear that in the news, right? Like everyone's discussing like, "Oh, when will China surpass America?" You know, in all aspects. But yeah, I mean, I'm not like incredibly versed in Chinese military or history, but I think that's kind of what I've heard through the grapevine, is that they're definitely getting a little more militarized.
Yeah. Well, in comparing just simply China and Taiwan, because there is deep-seated underlying animosity towards the two of them, particularly in Chinese case, because I believe that they have a big ego and that's why they want Taiwan so badly, but more on that later. Comparing
they don't have Taiwan, right? They don't control it.
They broke away in the Chinese Civil War back in 1949. But in the current state of China, they have 100 times more ground forces than Taiwan, and also 25 times the military budget of Taiwan. And Taiwan, economically speaking, they're a powerhouse, and military, they don't mess around. But to give you some context, Li Shiming, who is the former chief of general staff at Taiwan, they believe that they need more assets for Taiwan to wage some type of guerrilla warfare. They need more resources such as sea mines and portable rocket launchers in order to abate any military conflict, or at least defend themselves rather well. It seems to be there are more enemies on all sides.
Right. Now, is Taiwan, what kind of like geography is Taiwan? Is it kind of like Vietnam, or it's kind of like jungle-y?
I don't really, they're an island. So,
I don't know if they're like a jungle, because it's talking about guerrilla warfare. I'm assuming that would be
you would have, if it's guerrilla warfare, then they have to have some type of area to hide, because the first ever guerrilla warfare that we learned about in high school, it would be from the Vietnamese.
Right.
Because
even the the American Revolution, right?
So they knew how to do that, because that was actually some trees and if we're Tarantinoing about the American Revolution. No, this is great. The American revolutionaries, they fought so revolutionary compared to the British soldiers who were used to a more organized. You draw your weapons, you fire, everybody together fires, and then you go to reload. And they thought that the revolutionaries would do that, but no, they would press forward while they were reloading their weapons, and that's how they were able to amass so many victories later on. So it was some type of I can't say it without saying revolutionary, because I'm being redundant right now, because it was. I'm really at a loss for my vocabulary today.
It's okay.
But anyway, back to Taiwan and China. The U.S., like tying them into it, the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, he verbally committed to helping Taiwan should there ever be an attack by China. But here's the real kicker. When asked about, their relationship with China, what they would do if such an attack were to happen, he declined to say that the U.S., what they would do if China were to attack Taiwan, because in my opinion, looking at they've been having this long-standing tradition. The United States have this long-standing tradition of keeping the U.S. government sort of neutral, but keeping it ambiguous. So, not to show any type of particular favor towards China,
or allegiances or alliances, so that they can sway the conflict.
But looking now, just starting yesterday, what Taiwan has been doing, starting yesterday, they've been running like a series of exercises, mostly computer simulated starting off, but I think it's moving in July towards like actual live exercises. It's meant to play out like cyber attacks and psychological warfare and like actual uprisings, because there are pro-Chinese people in Taiwan. The devils are inside the walls, or at least that's what I'm hearing. Again, like warning bells. It's just like it's perfect timing. They're trying to. Taiwan is at least reviewing all possible known strategies, because anything could happen. Scenarios of like Chinese attacks. They know, and if they know, Chinese know, and if the U.S. knows, China knows.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true. It's crazy. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen with all this? I could definitely, like I said, like I feel like China is like fixing to do something, get something going here, because they have the manpower. Obviously, Taiwan is, like you said, is well equipped to handle such conflicts, but you can't deny the numbers. Like oftentimes it feels like China's such a big force. Like, how could it possibly be stoppable? But we've seen this in the past, right?
Largest population. Actually, no, that's kind of a lie. It's one of the largest populations. But if China did invade Taiwan, which security
now, what are like Taiwan's allies? Do you know? I guess are we an ally?
I would say that we are.
What if they have other allies?
I think they do have other allies too, and I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself too. But the problem is the global economy depends on Taiwan. For reasons that I did not know until I had to research this, we depend on them for semiconductor chips that they manufacture. Now, it's not like a monopoly that they have on them, but they are a major player,
Yeah, well, I know that they're also huge in manufacturing, just exporting all their stuff.
Yes. And if shipments get blocked, say that like there is some type of invasion that happens or blockade, if shipments get blocked, we are in big trouble because what do? We depend on the little freaking screens, iPads, iPhones. And so if that's to happen, all this animosity between China and Taiwan, it's only a matter of time before something were to happen, economically speaking.
Right. Which could then would have an impact on everybody because of that. I see.
But after the Chinese Civil War, that I think the non-communists lost and they moved to Taiwan. And then I'm fast forwarding to the 70s, Beijing. They committed to some sort of peaceful unity between China and Taiwan, but still stressed that military takeover was possible. So if China did invade, which, security experts have stated that like it could be in the next 1 to 6 years too. So aligning with my guess, China might actually have a hard time landing if they do it by sea, because they've got the Taiwan Strait is like a little over 100 miles, and it's rough. Like those seas are pretty rough, and they have all these things called mud flats where it would be hard to navigate. But China, they can exert pressure by still having this blockade around to block trade from the islands around Taiwan as well, which they would like to capture. Plus, also they can do it by air too, and we can't rule out that possibility.
Right. Yeah, crazy.
I kind of already tiptoed into my opinion too, but I'm feeling that China has a huge ego, and that's why they want Taiwan so badly, because they, while they didn't really lose to Taiwan, they still lost it. They're obsessed with it. So in first conversations that the U.S. had in the 70s, that kind of paved the way for, Nixon's trip to China, which was a big freaking deal back then. China wanted the U.S. to cut off ties with Taiwan, which was their price for like rapprochement. And the U.S. responded more so in favor of China, but they still have that ambiguous relationship. It's just a huge ego thing for China. If I'm putting just for our viewers who might seem confused because I talk my head off about this stuff.
No, that's good.
Imagine that Texas or Florida broke away, became some type of independent country, and is antagonistic towards the rest of the other 49 states. That state is backed by other countries, and it would drive the United States nuts. Just like how Taiwan is backed by other countries, it would drive China nuts. All those persecuted communists, all those persecuted by communists in 1949 that moved to Taiwan. Taiwan's now a powerhouse economy. And military, like I said before, they're strong too, not pushovers. So, And something that's really, really scary about China, and how this gave me the clue that China wants Taiwan. They built a full-scale replica of the Taiwanese presidential palace. They conduct military exercises about how to conquer it.
Whoa.
That's how I know that they want it so badly.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow. How about that? Yeah, I guess they're kind of obsessed over it, huh? They want it back.
Yeah, but in addition to other things that China has also been doing, they have animosity towards Japan. We've also heard a little bit about the Uyghur Muslims that they've been rounding up too. Have you heard about that?
They're rounding up Muslims?
Yeah.
Oh.
In trains.
Yikes. That's not good.
But that's kind of their relationship with Japan and the Uyghur Muslims. That's a story for another time.
Right.
Mainly because I'd like to have another conversation about that when I've researched a little bit more.
I see you.
We always end our news kind of dismal. We haven't really gone like maybe dismal news.
But America is stronger than any other country, baby. Take that, China.
For long, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But
I'm really the dismal downer one.
Yeah, the Debbie Downer.
Have you ever seen Debbie Downer from SNL?
Course.
I can't have children.
Yeah, she laughs. Yeah, it's like one of the best breaks in history.
Jimmy Fallon always breaks.
Oh, he does, yeah. He's kind of
but now he fake laughs.
Yeah, that's the word on the street. Oh boy.
The future is inevitable, but let's travel back in time.
April 28th, day that this is dropping. April 28th, 1945. Benito Mussolini of Italy and Mistress Clara Petacci were executed by Italian partisans as attempting to flee the country. They were attempting to flee the country. And I'll get more into that a little bit.
After losing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And going bankrupt, essentially. So forces loyal to the Italian king imprisoned him months and months before this. And then he escaped. Eventually, at first, Nazi forces were not going to rescue him. Hitler was still alive, of course, at this point. But eventually they did. He escaped prison, Mussolini, and conferred with Hitler, and then came back to Italy and suppressed all this opposition when returning to Italy. And by 1945, Italy was broke. Mussolini wanted to exile himself, thought it'd be best. So he wore a Nazi disguise in order to get back to, I forget if he was trying to escape to just Germany, but he was discovered because even though he had that Nazi disguise, he had very prominent facial features, a very prominent jaw. And so he was hung, and same with his mistress, Clara. And I actually wanted to show the picture too, because my grandfather, this isn't his picture, but we do have it framed. But it's a very famous one because it was hanged right in broad daylight. And I would have to say that this picture right here is it's tremendous. Not like it's like, oh great, somebody died, but it's such a very interesting time in history. Can you see that screen? So Mussolini on the left and Clara on the right here. In this crowd, my grandfather was there because he was fighting in Africa, I believe, and also fighting in Italy for a little bit as well. And he actually took a picture very similar to this one where everyone was celebrating because I'm not sure. The Italian partisans had actually were the ones who were the spearheading in this, but everybody was celebrating this because he'd grown unpopular.
Right. Wow.
So yeah.
Crazy. That's brutal. So was he shot and then hung like that?
To my
does
knowledge,
this kill him?
I'm not entirely sure because it shows like a wound right here. I mean, it looks like a wound. I can't tell if it was a stabbing or a gunshot, but I'd have to look that one up. I could. But while you're looking that up or telling me your historical moment, I'll look it up.
Okay. So my timeline for today. So April 28th, 1985. Joseph, do you know much about sandcastles? Have you ever built?
I can never successfully make one. People most of the time just bury me.
But have you ever tried it
Head
before?
first.
Head first. Just your feet are hanging out. Well, this person, okay, a sculptor by the name of Todd Vanderploem.
Yeah.
Okay, Todd Vanderploem. In 1985, created the largest sandcastle in the world.
Huh.
Okay. Now, I think since then it's been surpassed, but this held the record for 30 or 40 years.
Okay.
Okay. Since in 1985. Do you have news on Benito? How was Benito killed?
Pretty sure it was by bullets. He it says 7 bullets, right? No, it says 9 bullets. Yeah. Ooh. 4 bullets right near the heart. Yeah, that was the main cause of death.
I would think so. I think generally, if anyone's shot 9 times, they're probably not doing well.
Have you ever been able to, back to the sandcastles, have you ever successfully created a sandcastle? Remember when we went to the beach?
Yeah. But we couldn't make one on that beach though, because it was really rocky. Remember we had Eli? That was an interesting time. So yeah, 1985, Tom Vanderploem. He built the world's largest sandcastle in St. Petersburg, Florida. Okay. This day in history in Florida. Okay. He called it Bluebeard's Castle. Okay. It was a whopping 4 stories. 4 stories. 40 feet.
Why do you call it Bluebeards? Was there like a Poseidon statue, a sand statue?
I have no idea. But I have a picture of it. I'll show you in a little bit.
Sure.
Okay. So that's kind of a neat thing. So it took a team of 500 people, 12 days to do this. Okay.
And it didn't rain at all?
It's Florida, so probably not. I mean, it might have. Maybe they had to fix it on some days.
Set them back a couple days. Yeah, oh, right. Man, we got to start again.
Yeah, so it's almost 40 feet high. It took them 12 days, 500 people. They used 6 front loaders to accomplish this. Okay. And if you were to guess how much sand they used in pounds, do you know how many pounds of sand could be built in a 4-story structure? Joe, do you know?
I'm not a sand expert.
Just your wild guess.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets
everywhere. Well, I'll tell you, Joe.
Okay.
4,000 tons of sand. 4,000 tons. You know how many pounds that is?
No.
8 million.
8 million pounds.
8 million pounds of sand.
I was trying to crack a joke like every 60 seconds a minute passes.
Yeah, right.
But I couldn't.
Yeah. So amazing. Now I have a picture. There wasn't a lot of pictures, only like one picture of it because for some reason no one thought to bring a camera on the beach. But to see this amazing site, apparently it was destroyed like the next day or something. But it was open, and like I think it was like 200,000 people went to see this in St. Petersburg.
And most of the time, it probably just had to have been word of mouth because you could only finally see it on like mainstream news the next night if it was destroyed the next day.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Actually, I'm more impressed by that too.
Bam! Look at that.
That actually looks like a legit palace.
I know. It's a castle. This is a real sandcastle. Let me see if I can zoom in. Oh.
Look at that guy's Budweiser flag. He wants to put that on top of the hill.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, they had a vendor. They were selling food and all this stuff. But isn't that amazing?
Wow.
12 days. This is the largest sandcastle. Well, yeah, largest sandcastle. 8 million pounds of sand. That's a lot of pounds.
Wow.
So 1985. I applaud you.
Look at those dad socks.
I know, who's wearing socks and shoes on the beach?
This if you put this photo in today, it would look exactly like you got all these dad, outfits.
Well, it's Florida, so
With those high knee socks.
all the old people. That's all Florida is old people in crazy methods. Sorry to any Florida listeners out there. But you have to prove to me that it's not true, because that's all I've heard is
people commenting. People commenting if you are actually from Florida or have been there more than a week. If you can disprove that, we welcome it, because I haven't been to Florida more than a week time.
Joe, have you ever heard of the Florida Man test, that quiz?
Oh, of course.
So
I try to look around for my birthday, see if
birthday.
see like what happened on that day.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, on mine, I know, right? I took that test, and I don't know if the test quiz. I don't know. I called it that, but I don't know. But yeah, so you put your birthday in, and then you put Florida Man afterward, and you see what articles come up. Mine was somebody was riding an alligator, and then was eaten by the alligator. Florida Man. It's good stuff.
I love Muhammad Ali. This is from April 28th, 1967. Yeah, greatest boxer of all time, in my view. And that's why his nickname was the greatest. So Muhammad Ali on this day refused induction in the U.S. Army. Mm-hmm. He cited religious reasons, because he had converted to Islam a few years prior. And then this conviction was eventually overturned by the Supreme Court. It went up there. But what happened was, after he had refused induction, he was sentenced to 5 years in prison, fined about $10,000, and that he lost his belt. He was already the heavyweight champ by that point. Couldn't box for 3 years. Oh. He stayed out of prison successfully, and his case was appealed. Then after 3 years, in 1970, he had come back and fought in Atlanta, where he could fight. I think he could fight there early, according because I saw the Ali movie with Will Smith. Great movie. Slow in some respects, but still pretty good. Will Smith, he played it well. Will Smith. He knocked out Jerry Quarry in the third round. For being 3 years out, good on him. Yeah. And then the fight of the century, it was dubbed, quote unquote. He fought Joe Frazier first time. They fought 3 times total, but this was their first fight. 15-round grueling fight, won by decision. Ali in 1971, he got knocked down in the 14th, or I think it was the 14th. And Joe Frazier, he won that fight because it was very back and forth. Ali wasn't his usual, fighting self, where he was a lot quicker on his feet. He had started doing his whole rope-a-dope thing, where he hung by the ropes, obviously, in order to get Joe Frazier tired. 15 rounds is a long time. 15 times 3 minutes rounds, plus like the minute on the
45.
Yeah, we'll probably. But Ali lost that fight by decision. And then the U.S. Supreme Court overturned his conviction. And he won back the belt from George Foreman.
That's right.
Same George Foreman that created the George Foreman grill.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. Muhammad Ali doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the legends, some sports legends.
Yeah. Guy got Parkinson's too. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah. And he, in Atlanta, of all places, where we had the Atlanta games in 96, if you take a look at the footage of him passing the torch to light the beacon, when he holds like holds the fire, he's like shaking when he does it, because obviously he had Parkinson's for about 12 years at that point.
It's tough, man. It's tough. That's a tough disease.
But he was a tough guy. He died not too long ago. In the 2010s. I don't know the exact date. Joe Frazier died around that time too. Biggest rivalry. I love boxing.
Entertainment. Where's the entertainment, guys?
This might be a little bit controversial because a lot of people don't really know what the first indie album was, but we're talking about Paul and Linda McCartney's Ram. This album came out in May of 1971, so its 50th anniversary is coming up. Thought we'd talk about it a little bit early. Yeah, almost 50 years ago. Which, by the way, we also just listened to our reaction. We have a reaction on our new Patreon page, so please become a patron. We just reacted to Admiral Halsey, Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey on Patreon, so make sure become a patron, and we will see you guys there.
Yeah, and this stuff really helps us out. It'll encourage us in the desire to keep this going
and make it awesome content.
Yeah, exactly. We would love to do that. So consider becoming a patron, but then also just listening right now. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell icon, hit a like, leave a comment, and follow us on our Instagram at
Feeling Grounded Podcast.
Grounded Podcast. Awesome. Yeah, Joe. So we just like Joe said, we just listened to Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey from Ram, and it was pretty dope. It was great.
Yeah. So listen to us on there for our full length reaction. But now on Ram, on the concept of Ram, like if you just think of that title, it sounds so tough.
Built for tough. I guess that was
we're thinking Ram, the Dodge Ram, with that tough guy, that mustache handlebar guy. I know that voice.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah, Ghost Rider.
Dodge Ram.
Yes. Yeah. So what would classify like an indie album? You mean just like independently produced, or do you mean like the type of music?
It's hard to say because not a lot of people have a simple straight answer. It could be indie means independently.
That was always my take on it, was that it was something that just kind of that didn't really belong with like
mainstream.
Yeah, or like even just like a typical contract with a recording company or music group or whatever it is, and then they kind of just release it themselves and have their own genre and have their own type of music. And
I think it kind of goes without saying that indie albums should also be experimental as well. Just in their delivery of their message. What is their album trying to be? Like, I would say also that something really experimental, but not necessarily indie, because these guys were very pop oriented, were the Who's Tommy. I would have to say that that's pretty experimental as a first rock opera, but it's still very pop oriented. This, not so much. It's hard to pinpoint down what an indie album is because it makes like, there's just so much that you could say an indie album is. I've only listened to Ram like a couple songs before coming to this. We had obviously Admiral Halsey, Uncle Albert. Too Many People is another good song from Ram. Backseat of My Car. Apparently Another Day is on there as well. That's but that's more pop oriented. I think that was a single. I think you can hear Another Day. You remember the movie 50 First Dates? Drew Barrymore. Another Day, like, because she keeps reliving the same day until she meets Adam Sandler. Story goes with McCartney, I think he had released just about 51 years ago the first McCartney album. It's told people that he broke up with the Beatles, even though it was John who did it. McCartney released his first solo album. I think in his apartment, he had recorded it because he needed something to do, and he was kind of depressed about, being without his other three lads. But then recorded Ram on like a farm with Linda.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, wasn't this one recorded at like a barn, barn space, like a studio?
Yeah.
Now, was it him one that he owned? Was like a ranch or something that he owned? Or?
It seems like it. Yeah, there's footage of him being on the ranch with Linda and her kids.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, and it's one thing I will mention is, when we talk about older stuff is I love the use of the space, like the whole spectrum of the sound scope of like panning of left and right and center. And one thing that always kind of draws me into a lot of like older songs, from 50 years ago and plus, is how they use that space. And I love that. I love that because today everything is just kind of at you and it's everywhere. And I feel like back then it was so specifically placed because of what they were working with. They didn't have just like a bass, an 808 bass that just filled out the whole space and just thickened everything. They would just like put it in different channels and different sides, different areas within. And as a result, like they were able to kind of make this scene, happening where there's a piano here and then all the drums are kind of like circling around you, and then you have the guitar, electric guitar on the left, and you got the acoustic guitar on the right, and you kind of have this. It's like you're there at a concert seeing all this happen when it's like intelligently done with just physical instruments that they're recording, as opposed to just putting in midis and working with electric kits and all this stuff.
Right.
The drum pad.
The more tracks that they were able to have in the late 60s, I think that they were able to use that whole panning into one headphone to their advantage. Because, at first they would have to record them all at the same time with only like 4-track tape back in like as late as the early 60s. But you're right, it was so atmospheric.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Another fact I did not even know until we were beginning to talk about this a few minutes ago. The other 3 Beatles, basically criticized Paul McCartney with this album, Ram.
Really?
It was not well received, this album, not by any stretch of the imagination. It's kind of like Marty McFly. I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet, but your kids are going to love it. It seems like this album has more of a following now. And I heard Paul McCartney say this. It's like he was really broken up that this album was not very well received because he put a lot of heart and soul into it, just because of how radical it was. But yeah, all three Beatles said this album was crap.
Wow.
Even Ringo, of all people, said this. Like, he's like, I don't know what's going on with him, because if you think about it, I think I had to look up the other release dates. George Harrison's All Things Must Pass just released before this album. Ringo's solo album, which did pretty well, just released. John's Plastic Ono Band just released a year before, or maybe around the time of Ram. But yeah, and Paul McCartney and him were kind of waging, basically the first diss tracks towards each other.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. With, I think John released like How Do You Sleep, directed at McCartney. I think Too Many People was also directed at John, at his, preachy, bed stuff. But yeah, the other Beatles didn't like it, but there's more of an appreciation for this album, which is really, really cool. I think that kind of just speaks to the testament of an indie album.
Yeah, and I feel like oftentimes that happens, whenever there's something that's kind of new and whatever, a lot of people don't really receive it too well, and initially comes out. I think about like whole classic movies, like movies that come out and everyone's like, oh, like what is this? But then 20, 30, 40 years later, it's huge and people really
cult following. Yep.
Yeah, you get that cult following where people are like, oh, this is crap at first, but then years later, everyone's like, oh, this is the best thing ever. You guys just didn't understand it, and like whatever.
we are confirming, hipsters, right now, that your feelings are valid. How do you feel now?
I feel that. I'm into that.
We want you all to subscribe to Feeling Grounded Podcast on YouTube, become a Patreon patron on Patreon, and also follow us on Instagram at Feeling Grounded Podcast. This channel, this podcast is only going to expand further and further. We want to actually have you guys have a dialogue with us on any video that we have, or on any medium, whether it be Instagram, YouTube, Patreon. ask us any question and we will get back to you. We're going to actually make sure that on our Q&A sections, whenever that is, we will make sure that we answer your questions.
Oh yeah, good stuff. And then in the future, Joe, do you want to drop news about possibly being on other platforms, or do you want to save that for a different time?
Like I said, more to come. There is actually going to be a huge storm coming, people, and you don't even know.
Don't even know.
More to come about other mediums. But you've got questions?
You're feeling grounded.